Right, so plan of attack for today, we are pumping out hopefully about 40 or 50 mile in what feels like 0 degrees. 6 degrees today. It's going to warm up, obviously. I'm going to warm up on the bike as well. And I'm doing this session today with a client and friend of mine, Sandy, who is actually a really good cyclist, but I like to wind him up and tease him with the fact that he goes too fucking slow all the time. So it's always a good bit of sport, good bit of humour. Start with the means, we start as we go on. Get your big boy pants on.
Put on my big boy pants!
Get yourself up amongst them, let's see what we can do. The intent with this session today, and pretty much every session at the weekends, as I mentioned, it's high volume but really low intensity. So a lot of this is social, a lot of it is recovery, a lot of it is just allowing your legs to flush out and just get some higher volume mileage in. But as I say, in comparison to the structure for the rest of the week, this is sort of like a off-piste, go on how you feel session. So basically sometimes it's shorter, sometimes it's longer, but as I say, using the gauge of feel and also the accumulation of the fatigue you've built up throughout the week. So as I say, that's usually the main objective for these rides at the weekend. It's quiet, there's nobody about this time of the day, and it just gives you a level of gratitude for what's around you, where you live. And if you just push that little bit further, what you can find as well. So obviously the element of escapism is with it as well, which is amazing. Morning, mate. You alright? You're going to stay there the whole time?
Shut up, Tommy.
What you got today, mate? First part done, that was 2 hours 54, which was around 78k, 77.2k. So now I'm going to get back, quick transition, try and keep it less than 5 minutes. So I will see you shortly. So I'm trying to keep this now below 140 beats, but this transition took about 5 or 6 minutes to start to now roughly feel comfortable, so chuff with that. Let's keep it moving. (19k), 2 hours 9 minutes. I had 2 gels and I'm definitely on the verge of needing fuel right now. Little bit of a schoolboy error with these hockers. So long story short, when I was playing football, I always wore football boots really tight to my foot, nice and snug, which is okay for a 90-minute football game, but I've sort of took that with me when I bought footwear, and these hockers are okay. They're an 8.5, which is okay for like 10k, but I've underestimated how much your feet do swell in the shoe. I can feel my little toes just pinching a little bit. A little bit of blister, not too bad, but definitely going to invest in a size, probably half a size bigger, up to a 9. So that's the only thing that's a little bit uncomfortable, but apart from that, really chuffed with boxing off 19k, which I think is around 11-12 mile. Post bike as well. When I've done a 12 mile before, I've always done it fresh, and it's around the same speed, and I think without looking, roughly the same heart rate. So considering that was after a bike ride today, I'm super chuffed with that. So there we go.
Right, so let me take you through what we're going to be looking at in this accumulation phase for Project Ironman. So we're at sort of week 1, day 1. All right, so I'm going to take you through the whole program within this series, okay, and just share with you what's working for me. So as you can see here, we've got in this first phase, we've got accumulation 1, which is 6 weeks, and they're all 6-week blocks. So we've got accumulation 1, intensification 1, accumulation 2, intensification 2, and then deload as needed, which is a longer deload period before starting phase 2. Within between these accumulation phases, there will be a deload period between 3 days and 7 days. Okay, but I'll obviously talk you through that just shortly. So, as I say, that is the general outline. What I'm not going to go through today is the strength sessions. I'll do that in a separate video, and I'll actually take you through each one of these sessions as they occur and as they happen to the best that I can along this journey. But I want to give you the general overview and outline, especially if you're in a position as being a rookie like myself and looking to start out in doing something like a triathlon or an event of some capacity. All right, so as I say, let's just go on the left-hand side, what we're looking for here. Now, we're in accumulation phases, and just as a side note, this is how I like to track in terms of my metrics for my health and fitness. So this is the objective portion, which is I'll use a spreadsheet, I'll use the training app at Built to Perform, and I will also use things like Strava and Garmin. And that combination, it will give me the objective data and what I'm looking for. Alongside that, which I'm a heavy believer in, is actually tracking the subjective data at the same time. And I'll just use a simple notepad/diary/journal for that. And I'm tracking my thinking, my emotions, my mood, and simple RPE scales for energy, mood, and hunger every single day. Because the reality is the subjective stresses will have an effect on the objective data. The more aware of it you are, the closer you can really sharpen the blade on sort of the 1% margins every single week, allowing you to move the needle more aggressively over time. Okay, so as I say, that'll be a separate thing to talk about, but if that resonates with you a little bit, or you feel you want some more information on that in particular, drop a comment below this video and just ask about the subjective data. Just put subjective data in the comments below and I'll know what it means, and obviously I'll discuss a little bit more if you've got questions around that in particular. Okay, so as I say, on the left hand side we've got this first 6 weeks, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and a deload number 6. All right, so let's just discuss calories to start with. So what you've got to remember in this portion here, I'm looking to maintain my current net weight of 92 kilograms. Okay, Project High Rocks, which was I'm just on the back of, was a 12-month project, and I started at 105 kilos and I needed to get down to this sort of 95 kilos. So my calories were slightly amended to drop me down to a net weight, which was a pretty good race weight. Okay, so if you're in a position where you need to potentially drop body fat or drop weight, then I would look to manipulate your calories to amend for that. But just recognize and realize there will be a cost in performance because you've got that primary goal. So I'd make your primary objective to drop net weight and then go secondary performance for X amount of time. The more aggressive you do that, the faster you'll achieve results, but there's a cost to doing that, i.e. your energy, your mood, and your hunger, and you'll be pretty tired and fatigued. If you do it more of a slower, consistent basis, just give yourself that more time to do that. So primary objective 1, aesthetics, then performance number 2. Then when you get to a position where physiologically you're in a good place and you can start to drive calories back in because you're at a good net weight, I will then flip it round and do performance is the primary, aesthetics is the secondary. And then ultimately that's sort of where I'm at now in terms of driving performance numbers. And these are the calories in which I do that. So as I say, I'm 92 kilos. I'd say I'm sitting between 8 and 15% body fat. Okay, that's a big broad margin. I don't really know the answer to that. That's a guesstimate because it's not a metric that I follow. Okay, so what we're looking at here is 2,600 calories for 5 days. Okay, and it's roughly in the favour of 40% carbs, 30% protein, 30% fat. That is what's working for me at the minute. Okay, then what we've got here is a pre-brick outline for calories. So brick sessions for me, which is at the minute it's a bike run, primarily happens on a Saturday. So on a Friday, I will aim for 6 grams per kilo of carbohydrates, which for me at 92 kilos is 540 grams of carbs. Then I'll have 1 gram of protein per pound of body weight. So 92 kilos is around 200 pounds. So it's 200 grams of protein. and then 5 to 60 grams of fat. Now, that works for me. That will not work for you in your situation, in your scenario. So again, if any of this, if you've stuck with me so far, if you want help with calories, drop a comment below this video and I will send you a reply in your comment to help you out on how you can manipulate your own calories. Okay, so that's what I load before, and then obviously the brick day will have 2,600 calories, which is the normal calories, plus 100% eat back of Garmin expenditure. Now that doesn't give me free license just to eat shit, but what it does mean is that you've got 2,000 to potentially 5,000 calories on top of the 26,000 calories to replace and replenish back in. So that will primarily be in the favor of carbs, proteins and fat in that 40, 30, 30. But the reality is it's weekends and it's a great opportunity for me to fit in things which aren't the norm within the week. So if I've got a social situation, it allows me to have a cookie, a donut, cakes, for example, if that is on the horizon. So what I'm getting at with that, it does allow for some social occasions in there as well, just because there's an abundance of calories to fit in. So let's have a look at what we're looking for these weeks here. So what we've got here is week 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and a deload on 6. So if we go week 1, day 1, what you've got to remember with these numbers, I've come off the back of being more competent with things like running and cycling. So if you aren't in that position, I suggest you regress these numbers to fit where you're currently at within this. So for me, an 8 to 10k run, which is about 1 hour's worth of work, I'm pretty comfortable with that at the minute. So it's like a 6 or 7 out of 10 RPE. If your 6 or 7 out of 10 is a 5k, then obviously tweak the numbers to match that. So do 5k at zone 2, and then we'll continue with this. All right, so that's run 1. All right, bike 1 is 45 minutes at zone 2 into the final 15 minutes at zone 4. Again, use your autonomy to regress or increase those numbers where you feel necessary. Swim for me at the minute is autonomous, basically meaning I'm terrible at swimming. I'm learning to swim technically. I'm absolutely useless. It's a challenge. So for me, getting in the pool is a huge win every week. So I'm just learning to I can swim, but learn to technically properly swim is what I'm doing at the minute. Okay, so that's swim number 1. Then we've got brick session, which is a 25k steady ride into a 15k steady run. And the same as all of these numbers, that's where I'm currently competent at. Sort of a 7 out of 10 for me doing that. So that basically means that's benchmarked and I can move forwards with the numbers. All right. If for you in your world, don't necessarily do it on distance, you can do it on time. You can go, right, I'm new to this, so I'm going to do a 20-minute bike into a 5-minute run. Track that and then add the bricks up as we go. So for me, the progression is going to be 8 to 10k, then it's 10 to 12, then these it's 12 to 14, 15, 15 to 17. Then for deload, you go back to week 1 and we'll deload that way. Then heading into week 2, we're going to add some sort of speed and tempo work, which is, for me, it's 4 times 6 minutes at zone 3 and 4 with 3 minutes steady. In between, that's the bike work, autonomous swim, and then a steady ride, just 60k. Now, what you'll notice on the brick sessions is it's an alternate between a bike run, then bike run, bike run, bike, okay? That's just where I'm trying to build the mileage up for the bike at the minute within this phase. Okay, so that is the general overview for the weeks. And as I say, that's what I'm currently executing and what's currently working for me. So if we look at that from a dates perspective, what we're looking at here, so that's the outline, and then this is the actual execution. And as I said before, I like to operate with a traffic light system of red, amber and green. Okay, so primarily I'm looking for one big red in the week, 1 to 2 ambers, 2 to 3 greens. Okay, so obviously off days they're green. On off days I'll either do a lot more mobility work, just because mechanically I'm extremely stiff. So mobility work on off days or stretching, and then strength days I'll call those green for output in comparison to the program as well. Okay, so as I say, I'm going to start to track the distances and the times within this spreadsheet, and as it goes on, I'll add them into these columns at the end. So as you can see, for week 1, with all these numbers added up, including the gym, it was an 11-hour week. Add these up, it was an 8-hour week. So we're currently we've come off the back of a brick session here, these two here, which is obviously what are the red sessions. And then primarily I'll go on feel for the next day. It's either off or strength, and then I won't do anything primarily on Mondays. But again, it depends. It completely depends on life. So if I feel that I wake up on Monday and I've got more to give, and it's a sort of a 6 out of 10, I'll do it. If it's less than a 6 out of 10, I'll have it off. Okay, and that's really important to have that scale as you track forwards. One of the biggest traps that I fell into when it comes to just following objective data, especially with things like Garmin, Whoop, all of them, the problem that you've got is if you're reliant upon that data to tell you how you feel, it's not an accurate estimate of what is actually going on for your physiology. Because, as I said, the reality is you may wake up one day, feel amazing, but you're triggered by your Garmin or your Whoop to tell you that you are in a certain place, you're ready, you shouldn't train today. And then other days you'll wake up, you'll feel terrible, but your Garmin is telling you, or your Whoop or whatever is telling you that you should train. In my opinion, it's best to go off a simple scale of 1 to 10 on how you feel in the morning. If it's close to a 6, assess the subjective data that you've been tracking for the past 24 to 48 hours, and then obviously the next 24 to 48 hours coming up, okay? So for example, on me here, I did this session, I had it off, and that was enough recovery for me to start on Monday and then hit a heavy run on Tuesday. So I wouldn't know all that if I wasn't tracking subjective stuff at the same time as objective stuff, okay? So as I say, this is currently what's being executed at the minute. And what I will say is, you probably noticed here, the one thing that I've added in, don't tell my coach, is I'm pushing a little bit at the threshold work because I'm trying to increase my lactate threshold that little bit more. So for the short-term interim, which is in this accumulation phase, which is a little bit off-piste at the minute, I'm doing some speed work, which I've discussed this with my coach, and how we're doing it. If you think about the endurance world, this is very similar to sort of an 80-20 split in terms of 80% aerobic, zone 2 easy stuff, 20% of the time doing a lot more harder work. We're splitting that a little bit for the time being and doing 75%, 15% and 5%. So that basically means that 70% of the time it's easy, 15% of the time it's more moderate, 5% of the time it's red. So if we're looking at that from these sort of traffic lights, what we're looking at, you've got your red, you've got your ambers, and you've got your greens. We primarily want to focus on greens being that 75%, i.e. more of the week. So here we've got 3. On this week here we had 3 as well for amber, and then 1 red. So what I'm looking to do is work a little bit more towards my lactate threshold for this time being. As I say, at the minute, I feel fit, I feel strong, I feel like I'm moving well. So I'm going to continue that for this accumulation phase 1 until we hit a deload, and then I'll reassess numbers on what's the main priority. So for me, at the minute, this is the schedule. Okay, so as I say, if you guys want help and you want organisation with how you can mould that into your life and plan for yourself, then let me know in the comments, and let me know what's working for you and what isn't working for you at the minute, and maybe some frustrations with your training, or share some wins and let me know what's working for you in the comments. I would really like to hear and see what you guys have got going on in your world in terms of training and getting yourself ready for events, whether it be a triathlon, whether it be high rocks, or whether it be whatever. And hopefully you've took a little bit of golden nuggets or some wisdom from that today. And as I say, if you do have any questions with this training split, then obviously let me know in the comments. But so far, so good. And if it's not broken, don't try and fix it. So, as I say, thank you for watching this video today. Hopefully you found that useful, and I'll see you guys in the next episode.